Hi everyone, I'm Chef Jennifer Basil, and in this episode we are going to do two iconic Italian-American dishes. We're going to do a Fettuccine Alfredo, and we are going to do Tiramisu, the classic style. For our first recipe today, we are going to make an Italian favorite, Fettuccine Alfredo, using fresh pasta, and I think we'll throw in some garlic bread too. So let's move over to the stove because everything we're doing is on the stovetop today. So Fettuccine Alfredo, do you know that this was actually named for a guy in Rome whose first name was Alfredo? Two Hollywood stars went to Rome and happened upon his restaurant, and he made a dish with pasta, garlic, and butter. That's how this dish started. We're gonna actually make a dish using a bechamel sauce. So to start with, we're gonna combine butter and flour, add some cream, and then add our Parmesan and make a really nice, cheesy, luxurious sauce to go over our fresh pasta. So to start, let's take 2 tablespoons of butter, 1, 2, and let that melt. 2 tablespoons of flour. So whenever you make a roux, it's always equal amounts of flour and butter. So if you used a half a cup of butter, you use a half a cup of flour. 2 tablespoons should do the trick just to thicken this up for us. And as that butter melts, you want to whisk in the flour. And we're not making a roux, so we don't want to brown this. We just want to melt it and have it come together, and this is going to be our thickening agent for the sauce. So once that's melted and it comes together, we're going to pour in our cream. Maybe. Let's get that in. And we're going to whisk this together until it thickens. So let me turn my heat up a little bit. Since we're using cream, it's less likely to scald than like milk would, but you still want to be careful of the temperature and stir it as you're doing it so that it doesn't burn. So the story goes that these 2 starlets loved the dish so much that they brought it back to Hollywood, and apparently Hollywood just went nuts over it, and that's how Fettuccine Alfredo came to be as we know it today. All right, so you can see that that really got nice and thick. I'm gonna not use the whisk because when I pour the cheese in, it'll get caught all over the whisk. So let's switch to a spoon, and we're gonna put shredded Parmesan in. Look at that cheese sauce. If it's too thick, you can always add a little bit more cream to thin it out, but I think we'll let that sit off the heat. And we're gonna make our fresh fettuccine. The fettuccine, because it's fresh, will only take about 3 to 4 minutes. It's very quick, but I love using a fresh pasta. All right, we've got a rolling boil on our pasta water. It's salted. I'm gonna put our fresh fettuccine in. And since it's nested, I am gonna stir it a little bit just to kind of unravel it and break it up. And that way too, it will cook without sticking together. And while that cooks, let's taste our bechamel cheese sauce. Very good. I think it needs some garlic, so we'll add some garlic powder. You could start with fresh sauteed garlic, minced, but then you're gonna have chunks in your sauce, so I think a powder is gonna work better. And I think it needs some salt too, so I'm glad we checked the seasoning. That fettuccine will be done in about 3 to 4 minutes. I think we should make some garlic bread while we wait. So there's a few different ways you can make garlic bread. You could use dry garlic and garlic salt. I want to do fresh roasted garlic. So the easiest way to roast garlic is to take your head of garlic, take some aluminum foil, put it in the aluminum foil, put it in a baking dish. We're gonna drizzle this with olive oil, wrap it up tight, and put this in the oven for about 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, depending on how large that head of garlic is. And when it comes out, we'll have a beautiful garlicky paste once you take it out of the paper. And we can smear that all over our bread. Perfect garlic bread. Okay, we've got lovely roasted garlic here. We're gonna add another layer of garlic. So I've got a raw garlic clove. The first thing I'm gonna do is actually just rub the bread with the raw garlic. And then we'll butter it, and then we'll smear that roasted garlic on, put it in the oven to toast for the perfect garlicky bite of bread. Okay, our pasta's ready. I took it out of the water so it wouldn't overcook, but I want to put that right in the cheese sauce. So let's add our pasta to the cheese sauce. And just like any other Italian dish, let's take some of that beautiful starchy pasta water and put that in. And give it a good stir so that pasta gets nice and coated. Oh my goodness, this looks so good. All right, let's get this plated. We have got this unctuous, creamy, cheesy pasta ready to go. So let's take it out of, ooh, look at that. Oh, it looks so good. Let's get a nice, pretty nest going. Twirl it with those tongs. How cheesy that is. Oh my goodness. And I want to add a little color. Let's put a little parsley on it. A little unconventional, but add some color to that dish. Let's put some fresh Parmesan on it. We've got beautifully toasted garlic bread. We've got a beautiful plate of Fettuccine Alfredo. If that Alfredo wasn't creamy enough for you, we're gonna make a really nice creamy dessert. We're gonna do a classic tiramisu. So stay tuned, the recipe follows. We're gonna make a classic tiramisu. So to start with, let's make all of our components and get them ready to layer. We've got lady fingers. We have taken some boiling water, added some espresso powder, and just to pump it up, let's add some coffee liqueur and a little bit of sugar. And we'll get that mixed together and set that aside. That'll be our first layer of our tiramisu. Next, let's get some whipped cream ready so that when we go over to the stove and we make our cream mixture, that'll be ready to fold in. So I'm just taking heavy cream, it's chilled. We're gonna put it in a mixer. You can do this by hand with a whisk, or you can use a hand mixer. But let's get that started. All right, our next component is the cream layer. So to start that, I've got some water simmering, not a full boil, but nice and warm so that we can cook our egg and sugar mixture. So we've got egg yolk, sugar, and let's whisk that together. So let's mix that together till it's combined. And then let's add our marsala and continue to whisk that until the sugar dissolves. And now we're gonna bring it over the double boiler. I'm gonna hold it with a pot holder because otherwise this pan's gonna get really hot. And you wanna whisk this until it gets creamy and silky and doubles in size. Make sure your water doesn't get too hot because you don't want to curdle and cook those eggs. But the motion of whisking and the heat combined will help to thicken and double the size of this sauce. Our egg sugar marsala mixture is thick. It is doubled in size. I'm gonna take it off the water. We're gonna add the mascarpone. And then to make this smooth, we're gonna whisk it some more and put it back over the heat for just a minute. So we'll begin by stirring it in and then set that back over your simmering water and continue to mix that in until it's well combined so it's not chunky. And then to finish off the heat, we're gonna fold in that whipped cream that we prepared earlier. Now, when you fold, it literally means folding. It doesn't mean stirring. If you stir, you're gonna melt that cream and it's gonna take longer for this to set. So to fold, you wanna do a flip and then turn your pan a quarter of the way. Flip, turn it a quarter, flip, or fold. And just continue to do that until this is well combined. Okay, so tiramisu is my favorite dessert. To show you how to layer it, we're gonna do a mini version, which you absolutely can do individual versions, or you can just do it in regular quarter sheet pan or in a baking dish. But let me just show you the layering technique. So the first thing you wanna start with are some lady fingers. I'll put a couple in the bottom here. I'm gonna break them so they fit. And then you want to soak those, and I find it easier to drizzle them with the coffee versus dipping them. Sometimes if you try to dip them with your finger, they fall apart. So I like to just put the coffee liqueur espresso on top and kind of let that just soak in. Then we're gonna take that mascarpone, whipped cream, luscious layer, and go on top. This is gonna be so cute. And then you just repeat the layer a second time. And when that comes out of the refrigerator, we'll dust it with some cocoa powder. This does normally take 6 hours to overnight to set. So I've made an actual full-size one. We'll pull that out because it's been sitting long enough, and we'll get that plated. Okay, we have the tiramisu that I had refrigerating overnight ready. To finish this off, we want to dust it with some cocoa powder. Beautiful. This would go wonderful with a nice Italian espresso, or if you're me, you know, I always have to have my glass of wine. That's a classic tiramisu. Thanks for joining me as we made fettuccine Alfredo and a classic tiramisu today. I appreciate all of you who watch, to the old viewers and the new viewers. And if you haven't yet, go to my website, jenniferbasil.com, to find those recipes and more.